Sat Naam. Welcome to our very first Kundalini Yoga basics and fundamentals. This segment will focus on two things: how to begin a practice of Kundalini Yoga by what we call tuning in, and how to seal the practice of Kundalini Yoga by closing with the mantra, Bij mantra, Sat Naam. So I will explain the process of tuning in and process of sealing it in this video, so we could get a basic understanding of what's happening when we open ourselves for the practice, creating a safe containment, and then how do we close it when we're done with the practice. Now, I will say this. We will cover a lot of different breathing techniques in this practice in the future videos. And if you are driving a car, or if you're standing in line at the supermarket and you decide to do a breath of fire, by no means do you have to tune in. Breath is breath, and you could do breathing exercises anytime. Just make sure you're safe. You're not closing your eyes and stuff like that. So, but when I talk about Kundalini Yoga practice, when we're tuning in, tune in is for a complete practice, which has its components of kriya, meditations, breathing exercises as well. But when we do a whole practice, that's when we're tuning in. But if you just need to shift your energy with some breathing exercises, by all means, I feel that it's okay to do it without tuning in, especially if you're in the supermarket in line and you're like, all right, I think I'm falling asleep, I need to do some breath of fire, and I have to tune in. No, you don't. So I just wanted to make that clear, so you have an understanding that we tune in whenever we practice Kundalini Yoga in its all components, which is, warm up, kriya, meditation, and possibly pranayama exercises on their own or as part of meditation. So I just wanted to make that clear. So the tune-in involves learning and memorizing a mantra. It's very short, and it's called Adi Mantra. So the words or the sounds of the mantra are taken from a language, Gurmukhi language. It's a derivative of Sanskrit. Not everybody could afford in ancient India to study Sanskrit, and so the peasants, the farmers, kind of created a language what is derived from Sanskrit, but it is a language only for Holy Scriptures. It is not really a conversational language. You wouldn't have, discussion about sports using this language. It is primarily to convey the teachings and the mantras. So it's Gurmukhi, and you could certainly research that further on your own. So the sounds of the mantra are Ong, Namo, Gurudev, Namo. Now, I know the mind is very curious, just like I was curious. What does it mean exactly? How does it translate exactly? So let me tell you loosely what it means, because the mind gets really hung up on the language. And I'll share a little story with you. Several years ago, I went back into, I'm Jewish, so I went back to synagogue, to Chabad, and I was participating in Shabbat services. And, they have all these praying books. One side is in Hebrew, one side is in English. And, the cantor and the rabbi always were praying in Hebrew, which was nice. I didn't understand the words, but I could follow along in English translation. And sometimes speed wouldn't match up, and I didn't know if what I was reading exactly correlated what they were saying at the time, but it doesn't matter. It was, for me, what I've learned is it was very intellectual. I'm reading in English, I understand English, and it was like, it felt a little dry. So I started closing the book and just listening to the Hebrew sound and really experiencing the sound with all of my being. And that created a little deeper experience for me. Then my mind wouldn't rest, and I thought, well, I wonder, I'm Russian native, so I asked my mom to send me a book of prayer book in Russian. And I thought, wow, maybe if Russian is my first language and I could read the Hebrew prayers in Russian, maybe I'll connect with it more. And so my mom, she lives in an area where it's more available, so she purchased a book for me. Again, one half is in Hebrew, one half is in Russian. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. And I go to the service and I find a prayer and I follow along, and I feel myself getting really triggered by some of the words that just the language, the translation was like the king, the tsar, and I was like, yeah, that's not how I would refer to God. And so the moral of the story is the mind will never be satisfied until we know exactly, undeniably, what it means. And the language from which we understand, which we comprehend and connect with, could be a double-edged sword. I think on one side, the language is very limiting. And so I just invite you to allow the sounds of the mantra to let you experience what it does for you. And as you continue on your Kundalini Yoga journey and you continue to practice this mantra, it will reveal itself to you. But for the satisfaction of the mind, I will explain what the mantra means. Again, I just don't, I want you to keep this definition relatively loose. Okay, so then you get to experience what it does for you. Ong, O-N-G, represents creation, the act of creation. Okay? Namo, just like namaste, namaste, name, it means I bow, I give reverence to, I salute, I greet. Namo. Ong Namo, Guru. Guru is the teacher. Guru is not a persona. It is not no one person. Guru is your breath. Guru is nature. Guru could be a person if you get the message. So Guru is somebody who helps you see the light. And literally, Guru means darkness and Ru means light. So it is that experience or entity that moves you from ignorance into awareness and light, from darkness to light. So Ong Namo Guru Dev. Dev is ethereal. Dev is divine, unseen, unknowable. Dev. And then again, Namo, I bow. So we say Namo twice to really, really, really convey our gratitude and bowing and reverence and devotion. So Ong Namo Guru Dev Namo. So I will demonstrate what it sounds like, and then I will also explain how this mantra could be done differently and is done differently by different teachers, and I'm going to invite you to find your own. So when we tune in, we begin by, optional if you want to rub your hands, but we have meridians at the palms, and we want to stimulate the energy, kind of like the chi, and you feel the magnetic pull here. We're going to bring the hands into the heart center with the thumbs pressing into the sternum. Are we sitting up with a lengthened spine if you're sitting in easy seated on the floor, like in a yogic position, or if you're sitting on a chair with feet flat on the floor. and just extending yourself through the spine. In other words, you want to pull upwards just slightly and then just push the chin slightly back. We'll discuss all these little details in future videos, but just for right now, I want you to really become aware of your spine, your posture. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but eventually with practice, you get to really settle into this royal seat. And so then we always tune in with the eyes closed. If you're in a space where you feel comfortable and safe, I invite you to close your eyes and just begin to notice your breath as you inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. And I would like for you to continue to do that as I chant, and I want you to feel the sound coming to you. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. So that is one way to tune in to the mantra. Notice that there was done with a little bit of breath taking in. There is a way that you could do it on one breath, so it will sound like this. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. So what I want to convey in this particular lesson on tuning in is that there is no right or wrong way of tuning in. I've taken many classes with many different teachers, and everyone's tuning in process is a little bit different. You have to find yours. And so for a while I would sit and I would chant and feel like, okay, what does it feel like? I have experienced teachers that are very strong, very potent, and they tune in with a lot of strength in their voice and projection. And for me, it's almost like inviting your soul. You're bowing to the divine infinite wisdom that is within you. That is the loose translation of this mantra. And for me, it is a seduction of spirit. It is a playtime with my soul. And if I am to get to know my soul, my spirit, I have to invite and be gentle with it. I can't be commanding boss, So for me, when I tune in, the essence of the tone and the projection is kind of like a mother singing a lullaby to her child. So it's gentle and it's soft. And that's just my own preference. And sometimes it varies whether I do it on a single breath, or if I take that little sip after Namo, the first Namo, there's space to take a little sip. So you play around with it, you practice that, and see what comes. But for right now, I'm going to chant just a few times more to kind of really invite you to practice with me, so that you could get some kind of foundation. Let the feet touch the ground and settle in a little bit. Let the sound kind of flow through you. And just one more thing I need to mention on the Ong, O-N-G, we want to press the back of the throat up. So then that creates a vibration. It's like which vibrates all through the nasal cavities, and that what creates a reaction at the pituitary and the pineal glands. So if you listen to the Tibetan monks chanting, like there's a lot of like sound in the back of the throat. It's very similar. Again, the idea of this video is to give you a whole perspective on this, and I'm inviting you just to practice till you get good at it. Not perfect, just good. So here let's practice a few times and follow along if you can. Let's inhale deeply. Exhale through the nose. Make sure you're taking a full belly breath. Inhale. Lengthening through the spine. And exhale. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Let's inhale together. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Last time. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Deeply inhale. And hold the breath in. And exhale. Okay, so we did that 5 times. In Kundalini Yoga class, we tune in 3 times. 3 times. 3 is a sacred number, so we don't dispute that. We don't argue with it. You could certainly tune in more than that. You could have a whole meditation for as long as you want, just chanting this mantra and really invoking your intuition. But for the Kundalini Yoga classes, we always tune in 3 times. Now we're going to practice it again, and we're going to practice it with that little sip of breath in the middle. So it's Om Namo as you exhale fully, and then just a slight sip, and then we go Gurudev Namo. Now on the Dev, we haven't gotten anything, but I'm just going to give you a heads up. On the Dev, try to pull the belly button inwards, like giving yourself like a little pulling in, and the pitch is higher on Dev because it represents divine, etheric, esoteric. So that way the note is a little higher than that. Okay, so again, I invite you to close your eyes and really focus within. Let's take a deep inhale and exhale. One more time. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Let's inhale to begin. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Suspend the breath. And exhale, relax. Okay, so now that hopefully gives you the opportunity to experience two different types of tuning in. One is done on one breath, and it's a little faster, and the other one is done with the two breaths, which to me is a little bit more devotional, is a little bit more gentler. So, but you have to find where you land on this practice of tuning in, and it may change. So nothing is set in stone. And I know I've been practicing Kundalini Yoga myself for almost 8 years. It changes. It really does. And it depends on your mood, the environment, the time of the day, the season of the year, like whatever. So sometimes you want to be gentle. Sometimes you want to, be like a warrior. So find your voice. Find your voice. And I know initially it's very easy to become quite judgmental of yourself, especially if you're not usually singing in a shower, or if you're a little bit more conscious about your voice and your voice projection. And if you're a foreigner like myself, you want to get the pronunciation correctly and everything, it needs to be perfect. But again, do not chase perfection. We lose sight of the purpose. And the purpose is to experience the mantra and make it yours, and really allow every cell in your body to vibrate those sounds until you yourself will feel when it's right, when it's yours, when it's really moves something within you. And that time will come. So the next thing I wanted to talk about today is how to close a practice of Kundalini Yoga. And again, this is called the seed mantra, Bij mantra, Sat Naam. Sat means truth, Naam means identity or name. So in essence, it translates into truth is my identity, truth is my essence, my divine essence. And again, we close the practice with bringing the hands into prayer mudra. Mudra is a position of the hands. We bring it into the heart center. Again, lengthening the spine, inhaling deeply, exhaling completely. I will demonstrate a few times, and you could join me when you're ready. Sat Naam. Sat Naam. Sat Naam. Join in. Sat Naam. Sat Naam. Excellent. So a couple of key points here that I want to point out is we inhale and we chant Sa. The letter T has to have the tip of the tongue flickering to the roof of the mouth. So it's T, Sa, T. And then Nam is very short. We don't stretch the Nam out long. It's very short. And we press the lips together to vibrate. Sat Nam. Okay, and the reason for that is we have so many nerve endings around our lips, and when we seal the lips together and it stimulates those nerve endings. And so with the closing, with the Sat Naam mantra at the end of the class, sometimes there's a little bit of freedom here. Sometimes it's done 3 times, sometimes it's done only once. So there's no hard rule about the closing of the practice as long as you do close it, as opposed to tuning in. Tuning in is always 3 or more. Closing is 1, at least 1 or 3. And let me just explain to you why we want to close the practice. So in Kundalini Yoga practice, we work deep on our subconscious, we work deep in our body and moving the energy and shifting, and a lot of times we could feel very exposed, raw, vulnerable. You know, we could have childhood memories come up. We could have some other, not necessarily childhood, could be any period of life where it was specifically maybe triggering. And when we leave the practice without closing our container, we are walking around too exposed, too raw. So it's good to kind of shields, shields, kind of shield ourselves from external energies that are always mingling around us. So that is my understanding. We're tuning in to connect with our true essence within ourselves, our own wisdom, our own teacher, your intuition, your higher self, the God spark that's within you. And we create, by tuning in, we open up the space for this sacred practice. When we're done the work and we move the energy, we shift and we meditated and we relaxed, then we want to close the container by chanting Sat Naam. It's very similar to shamanic practices where the shaman will open to the directions of the south, north, east, west, Pachamama, and the skies. And then when we're done with the shaman, also will close to the all four, six directions. So it's the same thing. And my mind is satisfied with that, and hopefully yours will be too. However, I definitely welcome your questions, your comments, your feedback, and I encourage you to practice this mantra, tuning in, to really cultivate that intuitive knowingness and finding your voice within this mantra. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. You are inviting and courting with your own essence, your true divine self. And Sat Nam is also a greeting that we say in Kundalini Yoga community when we see each other, friends. We usually don't say hi, we say Sat Nam. And it's a salutation, it's a greeting as well. It is also the mantra with which we bless our food. So if you sometimes notice, you know, people give their blessing to the food, or maybe if you're a Reiki practitioner, you put your hands over the food and you give your energy, your prana from the hands into the food. In Kundalini Yoga tradition and our retreats and workshops, we bless the food by chanting Sat Naam over the food as well. You could do it mentally or you could do it out loud. It's whatever resonates with you the most. So enjoy finding your voice, enjoy tuning in, you know, refining your instrument to align with your divine purpose. And I'll see you here next time. Sat Nam.